All right, this is just a little background about where I got the data for the second workshop. And I'm not going to go through all of the details, but I'm just showing you where I got the materials and a little bit about how I manipulated them. The two sources were NHGIS, which is where I got the information for the income and racial demographics, and then data.gov is where I got the information for vote, the Vote 2012 data set. And all I did here was I said presidential election 2012, and I searched here at data.gov, a great resource, and indeed the very first kind of return here says this map layer portrays presidential general election results for 2012 reported by county or county equivalent for the 50 states. So I clicked this, and you can read reviews about it. And it's a tar compressed file. So when you download the tar compressed file, it comes in, it's like this, it's tar.gz, and it's just kind of double compressed. So there's a lot of information on data.gov, but this one was pretty easy to find. So again, that's one more time, just Google search, or not Google search, but I searched the content of data.gov, the data catalog, presidential election 2012. This very first take here, presidential general election results, kind of does the trick. And then when you download it, you can bring it onto your desktop, and then you want to hit, you can extract it, and you extract it twice, extract it again, because it's kind of double compressed here. And then this is the shapefile. And all I did was I kind of opened this shapefile and saved it again and named it something a little more sensible. This is kind of their code, election 2012, but I wanted to name it vote_12. So that's how I made that file, and I didn't do anything else to change that. That is as it was when I downloaded. So that's that one. I did actually do a lot more to the NHGIS file to prepare that, and I'll show you a little bit of that in just one sec. So NHGIS is a great resource. You can just Google it right there. And it's from the folks out in Minnesota, and they've done wonderful work. They have their own tutorials about how to use it, so I'll just show you kind of basically what I did, and you can explore on your own. But I went to select data, and I chose the geographic level that I wanted it to be reported by. They go everywhere from kind of the block level to the block groups and census tracts and states. You can do it by zip code, a bunch of different things, but I wanted it by county because that's what the level of my analysis was. So I said by county, and I wanted the year 2010 because that was the closest census that we had. So you can see they have a lot of historical data here. It's really amazing. 2010. If you want, you can use the American Community Survey, and that is a statistical estimate for the population between the censuses, and it's a lot more detailed in terms of what you can kind of grab, but it is an estimate. It's not an actual count. So I chose 2010 because I wanted to use actual census numbers. So I used 2010, and then you can choose topics. And under topics, you kind of filter by what you're looking for. And so for me, I wanted race and Hispanic origin, and the thing to remember here is that Hispanic origin is not considered race, right? So there's a little bit of a little play you have to do there. So I chose Hispanic origin and race, like this, and I said submit, and of course it comes up with and means that both of these must be true. Both of those topics must be true. If you did or, you'd get many, many more results, because every time race is mentioned or Hispanic origin is mentioned, you get a table for that. But I like this actually because it's Hispanic or Latino origin by race. And so now this specific table is going to tell me whether or not somebody identifies as a Hispanic origin, or they have Hispanic or Latino origin, or they don't, by white, African American, Asian, all the different kind of minority groups as they go through. So I just took that table right there, and that was one of my categories. It's showing me in my cart up here. I've chosen one source table. And then I also want to grab kind of the 2010 counties And so this is a geographic file, right? They have the kind of source tables, these are the information, and then the boundary file, and you have to kind of do the joining manually. And so I also wanted this 2010 county boundary file. But I also got information on income, which we didn't really use, but which we didn't really use, but you can use if you want. And to get that, I go back up to topics, and here I got rid of these two because I've already selected the table I want. And then I went down here and found income, and you can do personal income or household income, either way. There's a whole bunch of ways you can select, but personal income would be fine. Submit that. Go back to the source tables, and then I think I might have actually chosen household income, but there's a lot of things you can choose here. Yeah, I'm not actually sure. I think, oh, whoops. Includes exact. Okay. There we go. Yeah, actually, this is what it was. Aggregate income in the past 12 months. So this was for, it was actually for the fiscal year 2009, but it was taken in 2010. So I grabbed that table as well. I'll show you very quickly some of the legwork I did in OpenOffice. You can use Excel, you can use Google Spreadsheets. The nice thing about OpenOffice is that it saves directly to DBF, which is what is the type of file that we use to join to shape files. You can bring in a .csv file or a .txt file, and in the future we'll learn how to do that. But when you bring in those types of tables, there can be problems. But so I did that, and then once you get everything you want, 2 source tables, 1 boundary file, you say continue, and then it's asking you, are you sure this is everything you want? And you say, yep, that's great. And then this is good. Yep, you want comma delimited tables. Sometimes you have to choose, if you choose something smaller than county, you have to say what state you want it in, because otherwise it would be a huge file. Say submit. And if you don't have an account, you have to make an account. And it's fine. I mean, they just want to keep track of how their data is being used. They've gotten apparently a huge grant to do it, so they need to keep track. And their agreement policy is pretty much, cite them and don't be evil, and you should be good to go. So you go ahead and do that, and then there's another few clicks until they prepare the data for you kind of automatically, and then you download it. So I'll show you here in just 1 second what it looks like when you get the table. Okay, I lied. I'm actually showing you in Google Sheets instead of in OpenOffice because it's my other computer that has OpenOffice. But this is what it looks like when you extract, and they come out with these codes, but it's because it's automated, because they have so much data they have to kind of create automated ways of giving you the exact table you're looking for. So when you open up this spreadsheet, you're going to see a Gis Join Code, and this is the key field, which is the most important field for joining to your spatial data. But then there are all of these fields. There's so many fields. And then here's the meat of the data. It's all the really interesting, good data, but they have these codes which are kind of confusing, and you might not know kind of what they mean. So the way to find out what those codes mean is there's a code book, and the code book is kind of the metadata, and this tells you, if you open it in a text viewer, it'll tell you what all of the codes mean. And so all those codes tell you, oh my gosh, look, there's all of these kind of very particular ways of describing, in this case it was Hispanic or Latino, or not Hispanic or Latino, white alone, black or African American alone, American Indian or Alaska Native alone, Asian alone, Native Hawaiian alone, Pacific Islander, American Native, American Indian, that kind of thing. So there's all the codes mean a lot of things, but you have to kind of manipulate the table. And so oftentimes what I do is I will kind of get rid of all the data I know I'm not going to need for this analysis. And to me, that means pretty much everything except the raw count data. And I'll usually keep a county name and a state name. So, I would probably go like this all the way. These codes are used for other things, but we won't use them in this lab. So I would just take all of that and delete those columns. And then most of the times I'll combine all of these or get rid of the ones I don't need. So you can use R or Excel or OpenOffice or any kind of statistical package and manage these tables in a way that makes them kind of more meaningful. So, relabel these as you will. If you have one that is, this is the total population, and then you want to have the total Hispanic population but without the white population, then because you can be white and identify as Hispanic, then you need to create the appropriate columns and add and subtract entire columns accordingly. I'm not going to go through that here because that is that's kind of data science 101. So you should be kind of looking to learn about table management in Excel in a different kind of tutorial. But that's how you prep. You can use any spreadsheet program you want to, and then save it as a new file. And when you save, you can either do it as you can the open document format. But if you want it to bring into GIS, then a CSV or a TXT is the best. If you can use OpenOffice and save it as a .dbf, that's the very, very best. So that's good. And NHGIS does a good job, and they always create a text field, because joining a text field to a text field is the best. I don't know if you remember, but I had that one example of how, if you have zip codes you're trying to join and you have, for instance, a 4 out front, and you do that, a lot of times it'll drop the 0 because it thinks it's a number. And if you're trying to join zip code data, that can be a problem. But that, again, is a problem for another day. Go ahead and just download the data that I've prepped on the website, and we'll get going on our lab.